Earthworms are often called the engineers of the soil, and for good reason. Their tunnels aerate the earth, their castings improve structure and fertility, and their constant movement distributes nutrients where plants need them most. So when worms are missing from the garden, it's a sign the soil is out of balance, too dry, too dead, or too depleted of the life that makes a garden thrive. But what if the solution to attracting worms wasn't expensive compost or time-consuming techniques? What if it was sitting in your kitchen right now? This guide reveals a surprisingly simple ingredient that has consistently attracted earthworms in as little as 3 days: fermented rice water. Common, natural, and completely free, it's an overlooked powerhouse when it comes to waking up dead soil and inviting beneficial soil life, including those all-important worms, back to work. Rice water is the cloudy liquid left behind after rinsing or soaking rice before cooking. What makes it special is its combination of starches, trace nutrients, and, the potential to ferment. In its fresh state, rice water is already rich in micronutrients and sugars that soil microbes love, but when allowed to ferment for a couple of days at room temperature, it becomes even more potent, teeming with beneficial bacteria and enzymes. These microscopic allies become the first line of attraction for worms, who follow the scent trail of microbial activity right to your garden bed. To use rice water effectively, it's important to follow a simple process that amplifies its effect without overwhelming the soil. Start with plain uncooked rice, white or brown, both work, and rinse a cup of it thoroughly in 2 to 3 cups of clean, non-chlorinated water. Save this rinse water and pour it into a loosely covered jar or bottle. Let it sit at room temperature for 48 to 72 hours, away from direct sunlight. During this time, natural fermentation takes place. You'll know it's ready when the water has a slightly sour or yeasty smell, an indication of active microbes at work. Once fermented, the rice water should be diluted before use. Mix it at a ratio of 1 part fermented liquid to 4 parts water, and pour it gently around the base of plants or directly onto bare soil in raised beds. Focus on areas where soil health is lagging, or where worms haven't been seen for a while. The effect may not be instant, but it's typically noticeable within a few days. Earthworms are drawn to the fermented scent, and the microbial buffet that blooms in the soil after application. What happens next is more than just worm activity. The introduction of beneficial microbes from the rice water stimulates fungal growth, enhances decomposition, and begins softening compacted or dead soil. Worms follow this microbial expansion, creating tunnels, breaking down organic matter and leaving behind castings that dramatically improve soil texture and fertility. What began as a simple pour becomes a chain reaction of life underground. Rice water works especially well in no-dig garden systems, where the soil is allowed to build naturally over time. In such systems, microbial populations grow undisturbed, creating a perfect habitat for worms. Using fermented rice water in combination with mulch compost layers or partially decomposed organic material multiplies its effectiveness, essentially feeding the entire soil food web. And because rice water is gentle and entirely organic, it won't harm plants or overwhelm the soil the way synthetic fertilizers or high-sugar ferments might. So, this method is particularly useful for urban gardeners who are working with container beds or maybe compacted soil in small backyards. In containers, worms can be introduced manually or, they can be allowed to migrate from below if your pots are bottomless or set on open soil. For those who might be concerned about smell or pests, rice water, when it's fermented correctly, produces a mild, yeasty aroma that honestly fades pretty quickly after application. It doesn't attract flies or rodents, and it doesn't burn plants. It's also compatible with worm bins, vermicompost systems, or even traditional compost piles, where it acts as a microbial catalyst. breaking down fibrous materials and feeding the worm population naturally. The beauty of fermented rice water lies in its simplicity. There's no need for brewing kits, expensive microbes, or soil testing. Just rinse, wait, dilute, and pour. Yet, the results are often dramatic. Faster worm returns, improved soil structure, and plants that respond visibly to the improved underground conditions. In just a few days, what looked like lifeless soil can start showing signs of revival. This trick is a great example of how small, consistent inputs can make a huge difference in the garden. Sometimes the most effective tools aren't found in garden centers, but right in the kitchen sink. Fermented rice water has proven time and again to be a reliable, low-cost way to reawaken dead soil, attract earthworms, and kickstart the microbial life that makes a garden truly come alive. To keep discovering more surprising natural gardening methods that actually work, be sure to subscribe to Hydrohaven and share this guide with a fellow gardener. Every pore, every worm, and every microbe counts when you're rebuilding life from the ground up.